there's this one collage that I really have been sitting with. We were joking about it before we started, but you did it around MLK's birthday. And it's so interesting because I feel like over the years, I've been kind of getting there's that infamous picture of MLK where he's kind of looking to the side and his hand is up and everybody's like, really, bro, you're going to just throw my quotes out there when y'all don't really care about me. And we all put our own spin on that picture. And so I do think that for the longest, I've actually been tired of hearing of, if I can just be honest, tired of hearing of like, I have a dream. Every year I cringe from it. I'm like, I'm tired of this. And I think there are a lot of Black people who even would consider whatever as an evolution of wokeness or whatever. They're like, we don't want to whitewash, And you presented this collage. It may not have been the first time you presented it, but you presented this collage that had all these different imagery. And between the words and the imagery, you actually posed to the public, are we dreaming enough? And I paused because I didn't feel condemned, but I felt convicted. Because then I was like, what am I doing this day? Like, what should I be doing? Now, it is his birthday, so I ain't going to work. That's for the white people. They work on this day. They need to stop taking off on this day, but that's a separate conversation. But I was like, am I actually setting an intention around dreaming? Like, is there a way that this day could actually be different for us that is not about the output, which is what it has turned into, a day of service and doing and doing and doing. But I just wanted to, this is an innovation space, and I wanted to ask you all, like, are we dreaming enough? And maybe related to that, are we dreaming big enough as it relates to not just Blackness, but the innovations that we have, right? In this lifetime, are we dreaming big enough? And this is somewhat subjective. Don't worry, the listeners won't get y'all afterwards. So feel free to, share how you really feel.
No, I don't think we're dreaming big enough.
Oh, you had right it.
Yeah.
I love it. Aisha, I got your back on that, girl. Go on, keep going.
In that, like, what do I mean by that though? I think about the reason I juxtapose that question with him is like the scale of the dream and the distance and maybe what some might say the delusion. Yeah. That if it's not dangerous, I think, particularly if like the systems of white supremacy are still intact, if our dreams are not dangerous in light of that, then I don't think it's enough. And so it's gonna have to, for me, it's gonna have to sound like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, I can't even see that for it to be big enough. Or to be like the equivalent North Star. And I think when we first started using that phrase, it was in relationship to B. Mike's, like, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. And it was thinking about the scale of their dream at any given generation was so like impossible, like the thing they were imagining was so impossible that even falling short of that dream has resulted in our relative freedom compared to them. So I was like, are we doing the same thing for future generations? Like dreaming so boldly that even if that dream falls short, the conditions for people, our descendants, is so much better than our conditions.
So to the point, Iffy, that you made about the feeling, the kind of visceral feeling you have around I have a dream, I have that same feeling when I see everybody with I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I'm like, but are you though? You know what I mean? But are you though? Because I think sometimes if they could peek that, look down and see, like, I got beat down for that. Yeah. I bled for this. So I put a pin in that.
I agree.
And I think what we kind of lose from the King's speech is the backstory, which that's not what he was going to say. But Mahalia Jackson saw the audience, and they was kind of flat, like, ugh. And she was like, tell him about the dream, Martin.
Right.
So he improvised in the moment. Like that was from a sermon that he would use on a stump. Wow. So in that moment, like I Have a Dream speech is innovation in action. Like it's the spirit moving and showing up and saying, no, we're going to pivot. And that's why that speech lives in infamy, not because he read what was on the page,
Right.
but because he allowed the spirit to move. And Aisha, to your point of, you know, dreaming big, I was raised like faith is such that you can't see it, right? It's the substance of things unseen. Hope for the things, the evidence of things not seen.
Right. Right.
So those are the kind of dreams that I'm trying to latch on to, the kind that require some faith, that it's not enough for my brainy self. Because I think, you know, one thing about Kelly, folks know me well, I got a lot of self-esteem. So when I go into opportunities, it's a whole lot of stuff. I'm like, I can handle that. But I want to walk into a dream where I'm like, it's not, no matter how much of my braininess that I bring to this, it's still insufficient. Right? It's going to require more. It's going to require divine. And that's what, when I think about our work at BIA, that's why I love it so much. We were talking about how y'all are connected to BIA through Melinda, and through a network. So much of this is divine.
Yeah. Yep.
And it makes it, and that's why it keeps falling to us to go big, go big, go big. Because while we got this divine wind to our back, like, let's go.
And the fullness of divinity, right?
Yes.
Like you all mentioned Papa Legba, and when we think about the traditional spirituality that we're connected to, I wonder if part of the reason why we're not able to dream in the fullness is because there's been so much that has been labeled as taboo, so much that's been labeled literally as demonic. Depending on who you speak to, Papa Legba is like the equivalent of the devil, or you know, or the shepherd over the devil, or however you look at it. Not necessarily described as like the bridge to different universes and the pathway and the portal. And I think that there is something around even the concepts when I was younger. There was something that my parents used to say, which is like, our creator created us with the ability to create. Everything doesn't require a miracle. And in many ways, we've
so
been
good.
raised at times that when, especially, you know, we talked in another episode about scarcity, that sometimes our response to our problems is more so like, you know, we need a miracle
so
when maybe we need some mischief, like maybe we need to trick the situation, right? And I do
Hashtag
think,
Supreme Court.
I mean, and I think, well,
Trickster
and then
energy.
there's these institutions that do make it hard for us and kind of remind us of where we're at. But I do, there's a lot about this, as you were talking about, like how faith and dreaming, and if we're doing it big enough, the flip side is like just also recognizing the bigness of what we already have, that sometimes we're waiting for the next generation, or we're waiting for, or, you know, some of us that feel like we want to be a good ancestor in training, the way it looks like to those around us, at least this is my experience, is that I'm often told that, like, if you think too big, I'm told that by people around me. You think too big, or that's too big, or what have you. And when I think about how many other people may be told that as we're thinking of this conversation, I'm like, so then what is a dream? Like, how are we defining dream? How are we defining faith? How are we defining miracle? If it's not too big, then what are we actually aspiring to be? Because I can be regular iffy, you know, all day long, and I probably could live a quality life in the present, but then that doesn't necessarily call into the future. Like, I want to participate in the future a little bit too. So yeah, I think, I mean, I'm wondering then how we hack that. If you feel like we're not dreaming big enough, we have more tools today than we did even as kids. So I don't know, is it an innovation? Is it an innovation as in more connectivity to technology? Is it a different relationship with technology? Is it seeing ourselves as technology? Like, how are you feeling like we can bridge the gap then between who we are, and in many ways what has been imposed on us because we're Black, versus the Blackness that we both are and can become? What are just some thoughts around, like, technologies or innovations that maybe we're already doing or that we need to do more of?
to begin that, I'll say, like, you know, if folks are telling you that you dream too big, if you take a look, you actually find was like, well, no, those folks are just they operate small, right? So everything's gonna look too big to them, right? Because when you said that, I was thinking, me and Aisha talked about this. I realized like I was talking about earlier, the creation of intelligent mischief in the field that I was operating in. I was told that a lot times too. Like, oh, you have this really big idea. The idea is too big, and I was like, it took a few years ago. I started realizing like, oh, my ideas weren't too big. I was operating in a field that was too small for the idea I had. So thank you for letting me know. I need to now find the scale I need to work at, right? Or find the people who are willing to work at that scale. I think in a similar way, I'm not sure if like, I think what needs to be hacked is imagination. And I think that's the work that we do, and what we're trying to do is that, like you're saying, we have more tools, like, you know, I don't know, the civil rights movement, they talk about famously like where people will like stay up all night like to like print out flyers to get people to come out, and they would get hundreds and thousands of people come out to a rally or protest around cause of issue. And now we just have something where, you know, you click on the app right? And people show up, right? So you have all these immense tools, you have all these things, we have all the resources materially possible to solve the world's problems, let alone like issues for Black people in particular. So then what's missing is the will, the political will, and the political and social imagination to fix those problems and to have the belief that we can fix those problems. So what we need to hack is people's imagination of like the current tools that we have. How can we hack them to serve a different purpose?
Well, I'm gonna play a little bit of like Legba advocate for a second, because when we're building and we're constantly getting fought against, and I'm talking to actual builders, I'm not thinking about people that are like still thinking about it or what have you. What then also needs to be created to protect us while we're doing this, or to make sure that our gains aren't like constantly being chopped down? Because I do think there's a little bit of like a deflated feeling for builders that feel like it feels like the system is coming around on all, you know, all fronts. Or even if we want to take it in the tech and innovation space, right? Amazing ideas, you know, a Black femme person pitches their idea. It's like, can you please come back to us with KPIs and the ... And then like two white bros from like Silicon Valley could pitch, just show a Canva deck. Like, don't even necessarily got to show a MVP or whatever. And then it's like, wow, this is so amazing. And you're helping the Black and brown babies. So you also are diversity and inclusion, ... Like, I feel like whether it's on this like professional innovation level or on the social level, it feels like folks are also building up, trying to build up, or maybe they're trying to build up, but it feels like the vertical part of our building is being hindered. That may just feel like what I'm experiencing in my space, but I wonder if there are tools and or people that are positioned to do that work while people are trying to build forward. I don't know.
I mean, it's like I'm curious about that as well, you know, and I think, you know, sometimes when that happens, I think I have not a knee-jerk reaction, but kind of like, okay, like what exists outside of that? Yeah, because that system's gonna always try to do that, or is kind of designed to do that. And then I think, you know, like for various reasons, we kind of put some faith in those systems to operate like more equitably or like, you know, more fairly, or, you know, they said they're practicing inclusion, so why does it feel like it's still working against us? And then I think about, you know, to tie back to the imagination, like, you know, if there were another alternative, what would it look like and where would those resources come from? You know, and what is the barrier to that, to the alternative, you know? So, and I think like we kind of rhetorically know the alternative, you know? So we'll say like, if we pooled all of our resources into a fund at a certain scale, like it could resource some of our projects, our ideas. And then the barrier is typically the belief. It's like, well, am I going to put my money in a black bank,
so
in a black
wild.
fund,
Because I would have said the barrier was the capital, and then you challenged me. You were like, the barrier. You were like, yeah, of course the barrier is the belief, right? And I was about to be like, the barrier is capital. Oh no, child.
But what
belief.
I appreciate about your comment is you referenced our own collective wealth, and that's something that we don't really bring into the conversation. Black folks present $1 trillion in spending power. So if we had that belief and that imagination and the institutional infrastructure and trust that would allow people to know, like if they deposit their money into a thing, that they're going to get a thing, that very much feels like the real that we need to manifest in order to make that happen.